Good morning. Good morning to all. This is Walter Harries. Today we're going to talk about remote testing of smoke detectors. So everybody has a different idea what this means. I'd like to cover the points that are important for you. Oh, by the way, I should mention, if this information is 20 minutes, that's probably a long time. So we're going to go through it rather quickly. You can always get more information from me, more information from Full Protection on what you need. So, just to begin, when you think of remote testing of smoke detectors, what comes to your mind? And if you could answer in chat or open your mics, I'd love to hear from you. All I'm going to do is ask that one question. So, remote testing. Now, you know what? I think I have a better question for you. And that question is um, how many people are doing functional testing of smoke detectors? Are you doing that nowadays? Simple yes or no will do. You can either click on your mic or respond in the chat. I don't know, Camila, do you see anything in the chat? Folks,
Kurt, this is Jess.
okay, good. Kurt, thank you for participating. It's good to know there's people out there. Okay, we're going to go with that. So let's talk about remote testing of smoke detectors and why it's important. So how are we making our functional test of smoke detectors? Upper left, you're seeing the guy with a pushing the button. By the way, that's not a functional test. That's not accepted by NFPA 72. The only thing you're testing there is the button, not the ability to detect smoke. Or, as you see, the guy in the middle, he has one of the products we sell, but he still had to get himself a ladder, get up there and use that synthetic smoke, introduce it into the chamber so we could see if the smoke detector is working. And then, of course, a fellow on the far right who doesn't really care how dangerous things are. I love this picture. That's not remote. He had to go all the way up to the smoke detector to do the testing, changing, and whatever. Of course, not a very smart practice. And I'm sure you have seen maybe some of your coworkers doing something like that. I would advise you not to. And these are part of the reasons that we're talking about remote smoke detecting and how it can work. So, a functional test introduces synthetic smoke into the chamber. No magnets, that's not a functional test. No pressing buttons, that's not a functional test. And you still have to reach the smoke detector. You have to move furniture out of the way. Sometimes you move personnel out of the way. You interrupt their workflow. And even though you may not notice it, I'm sure the business owner does notice it because that is not productive time for him. You have to bring in that ladder, or as I say it here, bring in the ladder carefully. Hey, I'm not good at moving ladders around. The front makes it okay, but the back typically hits something. So you guys do that all the time. But if we could get rid of that problem, it might be helpful. If it's higher, you need to rent scaffolding, assemble scaffolding, transport scaffolding, just to get up to that detector to do the tests, to do the cleaning. And after you've done all that, then you have to put it all back together. So it's not as easy as saying, hey, I'm going to test the smoke detector. There's a lot that goes into it, good calculation. So would it be helpful to have remote testing? Well, of course it would. So let's see some of the the possibilities. I really shouldn't have put this one on it. It's not really remote. I mean, it does give you a little extra reach if you're on the floor. Maybe you could, since it does project that smoke, that synthetic smoke through that funnel that you're looking at up to the detector, you can gain a little space. But, that's used by hand only. And typically, you're always going to get a ladder anyway. Oh, on any of these sprays, can I mention something? Because as I talk to dealers like yourself, some of them tell me that they're doing it wrong. You know, when you test a smoke detector, you should basically give a 1 second burst of this synthetic smoke. 1 second, not 10 seconds, not until the alarm sounds. 1 second. And then you wait because the panel has to interpret, make a decision, send an alarm. After 10 seconds, if it does an alarm, then you can do another second. I believe they say after 3, if there's no alarm, then you better look at that smoke detector. So let's get really into the remote part of it. We're going to present different products, but for me, the key is going to be the telescoping pole. This telescoping pole is easy to transport. It breaks down. Well, it doesn't break down. One piece slides into the other. It collapses. And depending on which model you get, and you can see on the left-hand side, there's the 100, and then there's the 108. The 100 with the extensions can get you up to 9 meters. No more dangerously standing on a ladder like the guy in our first screen. No more moving ladders or scaffolding into a room. And possibly you don't even have to ask personnel to get out of the way. You just go, do your testing, walk away. So, what's the idea? And there's some information on this, and this is probably being recorded. You can see it again on the Full Protection website. But I think I'll send a copy to Camila, and she can get you a copy of this. Or, of course, you can send me an email, and I'll send you a copy because there's some interesting information like that about the Solo 100. That telescoping pole. And it's important to know that all the poles work with all the different testing heads that you're seeing on the right. And I guess the one I should mention in particular is the one on the bottom, the 200, because that piece of equipment, that testing tool, I shouldn't call it a testing tool, but that tool is used for removing a smoke detector. It's adjustable, those two gimbals that you see, the two heads that you see, so you can adjust it to the size you need for your smoke detector. Go up there, turn it, take it down, clean it, put it back up, turn, and lock it into place. We're going to talk more about the other ones right now. So this certainly is popular. It was the first generation of what we came out with. You're seeing the two-part numbers there, the 330 and the 332. They used canned aerosol spray. And there's two models. One is called M8 or Centurion M8, and the other one is called A10. The difference, A10 is non-flammable. And there's certain environments where they ask for that, so now you have a product. Basically, the lower section unscrews, you put the can inside and you screw it back, go up to the smoke detector, cover it, push, and at that point, smoke comes out. How much? 1 second. The rules haven't changed, okay? 1 second, let it do its thing. If after 10 seconds there's no alarm, do it again. But as you can see in the middle, warning, warning, warning. Why? International law is becoming more stringent on aerosols because they're saying they're damaging to our environment. So we're seeing all throughout Caribbean, Latin America, that there's more restrictions. Even sending them when you buy them, um, most likely out of Miami, the cost of all the processing of something that's called hazmat makes this product more expensive than you really want to pay. So now's a good time for you to migrate to the testers that use cartridges. They're not hazmat. They're not under pressure, within the aerosol. They're not damaging to the environment. So we don't have to deal with that. Eventually, the aerosols will go away. So time to start considering the other one. And here they are. One is the 365. That's the first one on the upper left that you're seeing. This is intelligent. It uses a cartridge, which you can see on the right, which I put in Spanish for some reason. Okay, the ES6. Um, it's about the size of a cigarette lighter. And you put that in the unit, you can transport it easily. And this unit doesn't rely on the technician to put the appropriate amount of smoke. It does it automatically. One of the things I like about this is after you get the alarm, and remember, when you're covering that smoke with this cup, that's a good thing. You're in an isolated environment. The smoke's going right into that chamber nice and quickly. You don't have to use excess amount of smoke to do it. And if there's any breezes, as there are where smoke detectors are installed, you avoid that because you're covering everything. Once you have the alarm, you lower it, not all the way, and that LED on the bottom will change so you can see what's happening from the floor. When the LED changes, you put it back up, and now a fan goes off. And the fan goes off so it can clean out all that residual smoke. Because one of the time-consuming jobs happens to be cleaning out, waiting for the alarm to stop because there's still smoke in the chamber. This gets rid of that. And for the customers out there who are using aspiration detectors like Extralis, Safe, or other ones, here's an attachment you can get. And this makes the testing of aspiration detectors a lot easier to calculate. Below that, we have something called Testifier. And there's two versions. One does heat and smoke, and one does heat, smoke, and carbon monoxide. So I haven't actually put into my screen the separate testing device for heat, but that's another one of the components you're supposed to do testing on. The heat detector, whether it's separate or whether it's a combo part of your smoke alarm. So on a big job, 200, 300 or more detectors, you can see how this is going to be a time saver. One device does all the tests. It can do them one after another, or it can do them all at the same time. It also uses cartridges. Those cartridges come in 3 packs, whether it's the TS, the smoke, or the CO, carbon monoxide. We good so far? Here's the $50,000 question everybody asks. So Walter, how many sprays can I get out of these products? And here you have some information about an average number of sprays. I don't necessarily want you to think, oh, more is better, because everything, you have to balance it. I mean, when I look at the Centurion, wow, 800, but I still have to get on that ladder, climb up. And so that 800 might be nice, but probably worth the investment to go with maybe the ES6 for the 365 that we just saw. Okay, it's going to give me between 200 and 250, but the cost of that, let's say a job of 200 detectors, okay, you use one cartridge and you're good to go. The testifier ones you can see in the middle there. The TS is going to give you more, anywhere between 500 and 1,000. I know, big spread, but that's the information. It really depends how people are using it. Okay, and how dirty your detector is. Some more information happens to be important. That line that says silicone free, because there are products out there, beware, warning, 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 that have silicone, and they are just damaging, dirtying your smoke detector. Okay, so we just reached a group in one form of remote testing. Now let's go to another one, because sometimes there are detectors that are simply difficult to get to. Could be costly, could be dangerous, could be just difficult, huh? I mean, that smoke detector in an elevator shaft, maybe the one under a false floor, over a false ceiling. I mean, just read the list. There's probably some examples that you can give me. By the way, I would appreciate that, so I can include them. Because sometimes people don't realize that, yeah, I do have these detectors and they're costing me a lot of time and money. And they're reducing my profit on my maintenance contract. So, how can I help? Here it is. It's called Scorpion. And now you can test that detector from 100 meters away. Now that's remote testing, okay? As you can see, I have it for aspiration detectors on the left, and I have it for point detectors on the right. Basically, that detector head, yeah, let's go to the next screen. So there's the testing head. It installs permanently. You're going to leave it there. It has a cartridge, which is going to give you 250 bursts of smoke. That's at testing one time a year. That's a long time. And even if you have to use two, you're still more than the useful life of your detector. Okay, so you put it there once, and it's good for the rest of the life of your detector, whether it's aspiration or point detector, as you can see on the right. The next component, wire. Okay, I don't sell the wire, but full protection does. Depending the gauge you use, that will tell you how far you can cable this. I think it's 18 gauge, maybe 16 gauge, and I can get you the part numbers. Will give you the farthest reach up to 100 meters. Next component is a remote testing point. The one on the right is nice and simple, just a single point for a single testing head. Now, if there's a job where you have several testing heads, you might consider the little panel on your left. That one can do the testing up to 8 separate testing heads. So depending on what the job is, you choose this point. By the way, this point, this remote testing point, this is installed in an easy to get to area. It's not in the elevator shaft. Maybe it's in a closet. Maybe it's in the elevator run, which you get to by climbing the stairs. Maybe it's in an IDF. I don't know. So it's always going to be a place where technician arrives, connects, does his test, walk away. This one, by the way, also will fan the detector after the testing, so you can get rid of residual smoke. By the way, the last component is this handheld detector you're looking at. So this goes with the technician. He shows up to the job, connects it. At that point, now you're going to energize the Scorpion. Up until that point, no energy. When you connect, now there's energy. You initiate your test. Once you have your alarm, you initiate the blowout so that you can get rid of residual smoke. Disconnect, pack it up, go. So the long-term savings on this, basically, some of the information I've seen is approximately a 2-year recuperation of cost, depending on how difficult or dangerous it was to get to that detector. So 2 years is basically a good amount of time. And that's it. That's remote detector testing. Each time an opportunity for you to comply with NFPA 72, which is part of what we have to tell the end user, because the end user doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't care. But we have to repeat it because it's important. Somebody, NFPA, has taken the time to test, to investigate, to publish results, and give us good advice on the best way of servicing a fire alarm panel. Using tools, that's just a professional image. To show up with a cigarette and blow smoke into the detector, not so professional. Or burning a newspaper. Hey, if I'm in a high priced jewelry store, do you think they really want me burning newspaper and creating smoke? And something, I hope I made this clear, I want to lower the maintenance cost. And this does two things. You know, yes, markets are price sensitive. And if you don't reach the price, but your cost is still the same, the only way you're going to get the job is by lowering your profit. If I can give you tools that will lower your cost, now you can offer a price that your customer is going to find more attractive. So I want you to think about that, whether it is the telescoping poles with the different testing heads, or whether the Scorpion remote testing. That's an interesting concept. You haven't seen it before, and if you have an opportunity, please contact your people at your salesperson at Full Protection. Ask them a question. I'll work with them. We'll provide the layout, the bill of materials, and you can present it. One of the things that I said recently in a show that I was in, I said, imagine you have a production line. And this factory where you have the fire alarm operates 24/7. So when you go in, you have to stop production. Now, these companies do not count their money by quincena, by the biweekly or monthly or yearly. They count it by the minute. So all the time that you interrupt their business, they are losing money. That's part of the cost to them because you have to put in the scaffolding, make sure it's safe. When it's finally built, then you get up, do your testing. Meanwhile, the production line was shut down. So my suggestion, next time you go to that type of application, say, sir, customer, this year I'd like to do something different. When I go up to that detector, I want to install a Scorpion. You explain what a Scorpion is. I'm going to wire it to an area easy to get to so that next year I don't have to interrupt services. You don't even have to know I'm here. I come in, do my inspection, and then leave. And you continue making money. Anyway, that's one idea. Hopefully, it's something you can use on your next appointment. Let me know if you have any questions. That is my presentation for today.